Hello everybody, this is Jordan Tremaine with another book review, and today we're going to be looking at a really interesting book, which is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So, I met a guy named Sean, and he was starting a book club, and he was going to start with this book, so I figured I'd join him, and so shouts out to Sean for getting me to read that book. I had no idea who David Goggins was before Sean told me about that. But the book ended up being really good, and I think it explained some things to me that really helped me along in my journey, so I want to share them with you. Long story short, and this is a whole book, and that book is just a summary of the whole story because it's his whole life. This is a kind of a biography of David Goggins' life, and he's still alive, so there's still more to the story, but long story short, so I don't ruin the book for you, but to just give you a little bit of the cliff notes, David Goggins is a guy that was born into a not so good situation, and he for a while felt sorry for himself, but then he got up and basically went after his dreams, and it cost him a lot to decide to be himself and to go do things that he actually wanted to do instead of settling. But he was able to achieve a lot of the things that he wanted to, and it wasn't because he had special advantages or he came from the right family. In almost every case, he did not have a special advantage, but he worked hard and he was able to manifest a lot of the things that he wanted in his life. And it wasn't through making excuses, it wasn't through having like affirmative action or people just giving him stuff. He had to work for everything, and he failed a lot, but he got up and looked at his failures and said, okay, where did I go wrong? How can I get better? And tried again, and tried again, and tried again until he got it. And so from that point of view, I think this book can be simultaneously very intense and make it seem like this isn't realistic and this is not humanly possible, even though a human did it. One of the things my brother tells me is just because a human did it doesn't make it humanly possible. But I think it contrasts that really well with this is possible, and you are basically your greatest opponent. You are the one that's limiting yourself by telling yourself, I can't do these things, or this is not possible, or this is going to take too long. Okay, what if it takes longer than you thought? Do you want to do it, or do you not want to do it? Like if you want a college degree, you can sit here and like, I don't know, for 4 years, or you can try to go to college for 4 years. And in either case, 4 years is going to go by, but would you rather be done with the 4 years and have a degree, or be done with the 4 years and not have a degree? So just get started. And I think that this book does a lot to not only kind of inspire people to get started and kind of take away those excuses that a lot of people use to not do things, but it also talks a lot about discipline and the things that actually get you to do stuff, which is not motivation. Motivation may get you to start, or it may get to help you pick yourself up after a failure, but motivation is something that happens for a short period of time and then it leaves. And if you're relying on motivation, it's going to leave and then you're going to stop. But if you have things like discipline, if you have things like values, if you have a vision of what you want in the future, I think those things can carry you a lot further along. And I think this book speaks really well to those, because some of the situations that David was in were not good, and I think he had a lot of mental fortitude. He calloused his mind, as he says, and developed mental toughness. And through discipline and through all of these different little things he put together, through practice, through analyzing his failures. They do this thing in the military. He was in the Navy called an after action report. And whatever happens after the mission, whether the mission went good or the mission went bad, they file these reports and they kind of analyze what happened. They kind of debrief. And he says this is one of his big techniques for getting better, which is after he fails, he does a report on it. He doesn't go like, oh my gosh, I failed. He says, okay, what happened? How can I analyze this? Exactly where were the things, what were the different little things that caused me to not get what I wanted, to cause me to fail? Let me focus on those things. And so there's techniques like that, or something he calls the cookie jar, where in terms of trying to stay in the game and try to keep doing something when you don't have motivation, or when discipline is very hard, or when you don't believe you can do something. A lot of times something in your mind seems too big, and he made up this thing called the cookie jar, where whenever you're challenged with something and you don't know if you can do it, or you're struggling with being motivated and stuff like that, he says go back into your memory and say, when in the past have I been in this kind of situation and it was really hard for me but I got through? And it doesn't have to be like super related, but what was something hard that I accomplished? And you kind of like, you get yourself through this by remembering all the hard stuff you've done in your life, and you kind of keep a cookie jar of the accomplishments you have, and you remember those periodically to help you move forward and help remember that you're somebody that can do things. So this book I think was good. It's really intense, and I didn't read the book. I bought the book because there's challenges at the end of each chapter, and it's trying to help spark you to actually go do stuff. This is a book that's trying to not only tell you about someone who did a lot of amazing things, but to help you get off your ass and do things. So there's challenges in here, and that's why I bought the book, but I listened to it on audiobook specifically because the audiobook version of Can't Hurt Me is interesting in that at the end of certain sections, the guy that's narrating the audiobook stops, and then he has a real live conversation with actual David Goggins about what they were just doing in the book. So you get through like, I don't know, this much of the book, and then there's like a little commentary section inside of the audiobook only of them talking, and then you get through another section of the book, and then there's another bit of commentary. And I thought that was really cool, where you get to hear kind of David's off the cuff kind of viewpoints from different points in his life, and I got a lot out of that. So I would recommend listening to the audiobook on this one. But the book is good because there's a lot of pictures in the book, and I love pictures. If you watch my channel, you know that. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That's a great thing to do. But there's pictures that really show that what he was talking about in the story is not fake. Like, he was doing pull-ups. He like broke the world record for pull-ups. He did like 4,030 pull-ups in like 24 hours, and then like all the skin was falling off his hands and stuff. And when you're reading that or you're listening to it, sometimes you're like, that's not realistic. But then you see a picture and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. And so there's some kind of graphic pictures in the book, but it helps to illustrate like him being able to push through in extreme situations. So the book is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I think it's a good book. It's a very intense book. It's not too graphic. There's a couple of kind of gross things where he like runs on his foot in like frozen weather for like 100 miles, and then his toes are all messed up, and then it shows a picture of his toes. So that's a little bit gross, but overall, I'd say aside from being a little intense, because this guy, he ran a marathon on basically broken feet. He did skydiving. He was a Navy Marine. He did a lot of really intense stuff, and so this book can be kind of intense, I guess. But aside from that, which I didn't have a real problem with, I think the book is easy to read. The audiobook is excellent because it has that like podcasty type of commentary in it. And I think this book does a lot to help you calibrate your mindset and help take away excuses and give you permission to do things. Sometimes it's very important, I think, when other people that are similar to us, or we view other people as people who could have been in our situation, they accomplish something. Sometimes it gives us permission in our own minds to do things like, oh wow, I never thought that I could be a model, but somebody like me is on the billboard, so now I can go try to be a model. And so sometimes there's stuff like that. But this book, I think, does a lot to kind of open your mind and give you that kind of foundation so that you can go out and callous your mind and go out and work and have things to fall back on. There's a lot of mental tools in here, and the challenges kind of help step you through those mental tools. But I would recommend this book. It's a good book. I would recommend listening to it on audio because of that podcast thing. But if you're a reader, it's $20, so go read it. But Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins is the book. And yeah, that's it. This has been Jordan Tremaine with another book review. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.